Simon, I'd like to thank you for joining us at the 2014 Housing Technology Conference here in Oxford. You're very well known for your positive attitude. Can a positive approach transform a business?
Without a doubt, it's the only way you can transform a business. It's the only way you can transform anything is a positive approach. You've got to believe that you can achieve it, otherwise what's the point in setting out on it? You have to see that there has to be a benefit before you set out on your journey. You have to see that there's a positive, otherwise it just defeats the object.
Being in the army, you rely on teamwork as your life can depend on it. How do you see this translated into civilian life?
It's about trusting each other, trusting each other's abilities, trusting each other's capabilities, but also upskilling all the time. It's the only way you're going to compete in the modern world as well, is to get everybody up to speed on technology, up to speed on the skills and their capabilities, but also confidence. You need to be confident in what you're doing. You need to know that you have that capability, whether you're still only training or not. But if you've invested enough and you've got that ability to make an educated gamble, you will be successful. But if we don't do any of those things, we're destined to fail.
What's the most important thing that housing associations should consider to improve the quality of everyday living?
It's to build up a trust and a faith and a working relationship with each and every individual, because they're all stakeholders at the end of the day. So the clients and the association have really to work together to make it a success. So it's looking at the bigger picture. You said one thing, well, it's a major ball that has to be played with, which is the investment in each other. Because if we don't pull together, we're pulling apart. There are lots of great illustrations of success, and they've been done differently, but if you actually look at the essentials and the key points, they're very similar.
What do you think success looks like?
It depends who you're talking to. Success means so much to so many different people. If you're talking to a billionaire, success is, what, more billions? I could give you an example of a young boy that I worked with many years ago from Cardiff. When I first met him, he didn't have a white tooth in his head. He stunk, he was dirty, he had a holy t-shirt, it was filthy. And I met him about a year, maybe 18 months later, he'd been worked with my charity at the time, and he still had the same t-shirt on, but all of a sudden his teeth were clean, he didn't smell, his hair was washed, it was cut, he was working for a fast food chain, he had a door he could lock, he could call his own, which made a massive difference in his life. And even though he had the same t-shirt on, this time the holes were clean. And that's the difference. He was starting to take more personal pride in his appearance.
You clearly love your work and you are seen as very inspirational. How would you advise young people today in their approach to life and work?
Life, live it as hard and as fast and as fulfilled as you possibly can. The whole point of having wonderful moments of celebration is because they're wonderful moments. And you work and you have to go through the drudgery and the awfulness of the monotony of life. But we are working towards a goal. And that goal has to be the success, your personal success, your professional success, and your life success. Everybody looks forward to their holidays. Why? Because they're moments of wonderful enjoyment. You can only invest in a very expensive holiday or a brilliant holiday if you've worked hard and you're looking forward to it. But the whole rest of your life can't be a permanent holiday. Xboxes and all of these things, they're all right for 10 minutes, but they can't be the rest of your life unless you're designing them and making them. And then all of a sudden, lo and behold, that's your career. It's not about what you earn in life, whether that's spiritually, morally, motivationally. It's how much you spend of that. How much you spend of that. If you keep a bit back, so you can share it out a little bit later on, that's when it becomes really valuable. And that's what life is all about. How much you've got left to give, not just to yourself, but to others.
How important do you believe it is to the success of a business to be open to new ideas and embrace new technologies and innovations?
Doesn't matter how good you are, you don't know it all. It doesn't matter how clever you are, you don't know everything about everything. And that's why we've got to listen to other people. The same goes for technology. It changes at a pace. Not all change is great in that regard. So we need to be judicious about the technology we buy. We need to be careful about what we invest in. Is it going to be suitable for 10 years' time? So then it makes the investment really worthwhile. Or is it only going to be a short time fix? Then better off leasing it. And sometimes we have to look at what we do with all of these things before we actually make a success with them.
You're involved in a lot of charities, but do you think that government should help communities to pull together more?
What I believe is we need governmental support when we need it, not when we want it. But we need to take control of our own destinies. And this is why housing associations are brilliant, because they're not relying solely on government. They're relying on their own innovation to make a success with the tenants they have, with the clients they have. You look at their collective bargaining power. They've done that, not the government, not the politicians. They haven't gone looking for somebody to solve their issues. They've come up with the ideas. Ultimately, we've got to come away from looking to people to solve our problems other than us solving them ourselves. Because 9 times out of 10, what's great and suitable for the northeast isn't great and suitable for the northwest, as it won't be suitable for the southeast or the southwest. You know, because we live in our different environments and different priorities. But the government has to have one brush because they can't pick and choose. So inevitably they're going to get it wrong for somebody. So isn't it better that we take control of our own destiny?
So with that in mind, do you think government should provide better housing and support for the armed forces?
Yes. I don't have to think about that because I've been thinking about it for a long time. There needs to be a priority. A priority where if they are coming out of the armed forces, especially if they've been injured, they've given everything to their country, because the poor wages within the military don't allow an awful lot of people to be able to invest or save for great investments to go and buy their own home. So they do rely on social housing. But all they're asking for is parity. They're not asking for priority, and they're not asking to be put beyond that. But that's why they should be a priority case to be looked at in that way. And that's where we should make the change.
You are inspiring for the energy and honesty for which you embrace life. Would you say that this element is important for those running successful businesses today?
Yes, you have to embrace. You have to embrace the change and the challenge that each change brings. You have to have an energy for life. You have to have an enthusiasm for life. There's no point in being a greatest pessimist. Don't ever go to your grave or to your last knockings thinking, what if, could I have done more? If you weren't capable and you weren't skillful enough or talented or intelligent enough, fine. But if you gave everything your everything, then you don't have to remonstrate with anybody else. You can look at yourself and say, well, did I invest enough when I was younger? The answer probably was no. But at the end of the day, you gave it everything you had. And that's the way I look at life. And if I ever need a driver in my life, there are 48 men who are still on my ship who would love to have my problems, my opportunities, who would love to have my aches and pains, would love to have the problems I have.
Lastly, Simon, for someone who inspires so many people, who do you turn to for inspiration?
I'm going to sound quite trite and traditional. My mother is my hero, but I'm inspired by so many people I've seen throughout the world. You've got the famous, you know, your Mandelas and Mother Teresa's, inspirational characters, you know, your Gandhis, great people who achieved so much. But I'm inspired by the ordinary person, people that we don't read about, we don't see, but we get to hear about every now and again. We have a privilege to have a snapshot of their life, and they get on with life. They don't have fame, they don't have fortune, but they do have a smile, and they do have an energy, and they do have a determination to make things better, and they try their best. They do what they can to bring about change, and the change is making a difference, and a positive difference, not just in their life, but in everybody that they surround and that they care about. And ultimately, that's what we need in life, all of us, is to make that difference. So they're the people who inspire me.
Thank you, Simon.
My pleasure.